Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney. On this channel, we answer publicly posted questions from YouTube users, getting folks the answers they need from an employment attorney. We have a question from YouTube user Sheristan, who I believe I may have had an email exchange with. I'm not sure. Um, and the question is as follows. Oh, I'm supposed to tell you to like, subscribe, comment down below, share the video so our channel can grow. Got that out of the way. Sheristan's question is as follows. Question. What if your employer is your state government? Is it wise to accept a right to sue letter for state court if your boss is the state? Or is your only option federal litigation? Also, employment lawyers where I live refuse to take a case against the state, but the NAACP is willing to step up instead. What are the benefits and drawbacks of having an organization like the NAACP on your side through an EEOC case instead of an actual employment lawyer? That's a great question. Let's start with the simple stuff first. If you are suing a state government, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be urging you to bring that case in federal court. I'm not saying that state courts protect state governments, because I'm not sure I'm allowed to say that. Listen, I've had success for state employees in state court extensively. You can do that. But not all states and not all state courts are created equal. And generally speaking, I'm going to encourage you, if you're going after a state governmental body, do so in federal court. Federal judges are just a different beast, different vibe altogether. They're not really ever beholden to the state in any way. They just don't care, right? Excuse me. Now, I apologize for my cough, everyone. Now, the next part of this question is much more interesting. So, Sheristan did go on. She said, employment lawyers where I live refuse to take the case against the state, but the NAACP is willing to step up instead. And that is, of course, the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People. They're willing to step up. What are the benefits and drawbacks of having an organization like the NAACP on your side through an EEOC case instead of an employment lawyer? So, the cat has decided to jump into the video. She's giving me her thoughts. Yes. What can I get you? Oh, affection. Okay. Okay. So the NAACP is, generally speaking, a very good organization. And many of you who watch the channel a lot are going to be like, oh my God, Vince said that an organization is good? Because I spent a lot of time mocking legal aid. I spent a lot of time mocking, defenders' offices. So the Poverty Law Center, I mean, really not a well-meaning organization in a variety of ways. In my opinion, the NAACP is the exception to the rule. They matter. Like even like the Civil Liberties Union, and like there's a lot of organizations that are in very bad states of repair in 2023. Like, there's a lot of these organizations, and I extend it beyond civil rights groups, like the think tanks and the legal aid. There's a trend in these organizations where they're infected with students. I guess students of life, academics, people who went to school and got the degree to do whatever they need to do, including their law degrees, and then didn't want to actually do it or anything. So there's a lot of Harvard and Princeton and such Ivy League kids who get nice salaries to not really do anything in these organizations. and they would tell you, we're saving the world. We're saving the world. This is my act of service before I go into a real job. One, they're not saving the world. They're not doing shit. And two, the fact that they don't consider it to be a real job is the problem, right? The fun thing about volunteers is when volunteering gets hard, they go away. They stop volunteering, right? So if you view your job as like, this is my act of service, I'm getting my bona fides, I got to do my time so I can get into a state or federal government job, like I gotta do my time in legal aid so I can go be a director of some department in New York City later on, right? Like, that's not a useful practice for anyone. Working in legal aid does not prepare you to work in the logistics of state government, and coming straight out of school with your Ivy League education and treating your legal aid career as like you doing time to get your bona fides actively harms all the people whose cases you handle. It's just how it is. But again, I view the NAACP as a very different creature on this front. I'm not going to say that I view it as the sun, the moon, and the stars, but it is perhaps one of the finest options available in terms of organizations of this ilk, and they do good work. Now, here's the issue. They do good work so long as they see it through. I'm not speaking about the NAACP necessarily, but a lot of these organizations will help and then say, glad we could help. Good luck. Well, my friends, what are we going to federal litigation? Are you going to bankroll my war chest for federal litigation? Are you backing me to the tune of litigation costs between $60,000 and $140,000? Like, what are we talking about? Like, when you say you're going to help me in the EEOC NAACP, lots of letters there. That's awesome, and I, Vince, believe the NAACP would do good work in that. But I need you to understand where that good work ends. Is it, listen, we're going to back you to the hill. We're going all the way. We're going to do what we have to do to see this out. Incredible. Incredible. Like, that's a lot. That's a big swing for the organization. And I would be cheering for you. I'd be so happy. That'd be amazing. It's also probably not what they're going to do. And that's the core problem when you're dealing with an organization instead of an attorney. And people are going to pop into the comments here and be like, oh, these attorneys only care about money, this and that. Many of us, yeah, that is true. But it returns me to like a thought, a theme in this channel that I talk about, where like you could be an absolute villain working as an employment attorney. You could be a sociopath. And I think many of my peers actively are. But you would still help your clients because it is in helping your clients that you get paid, right? Like an employment attorney who only cares about his or herself will often produce better results than a well-meaning, less motivated person. That's an insane thing to think. That's wild, right? Like, somebody who's just the Machiavellian, most ruthless lunatic in the world is going to say, I like this case, I'm going to invest in this case, I'll take it to federal litigation if I have to because I got a lot of money tied up in this case. I want my payday. And the only way I get my payday is if I produce a payday for my client. Well, that's quite a motivation, right? They're going to see it through all the way. It's not just, oh, we helped you with the EEOC, glad we could help, we're out, right? This is more, okay, we got to litigate this all the way. We got to recoup our investment. We have to get in the trenches, fight it out in discovery, make the defendant's life a nightmare. My gosh, I'm sorry. Make the defendant's life a nightmare, right? Like this is something that often these organizations will not do. The higher ideals of these organizations can be very cool and very respectable, and I do view the NAACP as a beautiful thing. Sincerely. Like, they matter. Like, really, truly, they matter. Would I tell my sister to let them handle her case? Maybe not. But it also depends on what you want, right? Like if you think this case is going to settle at the EEOC level and you're not asking for that much, well, that's a great deal, because the NAACP is probably not going to take a piece. They're not going to take a cut of your settlement, I suspect. I don't know that for a fact, because I've seen legal aid now on at least 2 occasions try to take a percentage on someone's case before rampantly committing malpractice. And legal aid is not the NAACP. Like, these are 2 very different organizations and 2 very different calibers of human being. Generally speaking, not everybody in legal aid is bad. I have friends who came up in legal aid. I have friends who work in legal aid now. I view them to be good and talented and well-meaning attorneys, surrounded by fucking morons and people who do not mean well for their clientele, for the people they're supposed to be helping, right? So this is a very long way to talk around the idea that, like, get a feel for what they're actually going to do for you. How far are they going to take? Get a commitment. Get it in writing. Know what they're going to do. And if they're going to do it just the EEOC, and if you're not sure it's going to settle at the EEOC level, have an attorney in your back pocket who can take over the case. Would be my recommendation. Anyways, Sheristan, I hope this is helpful. I feel like I've been talking for 12 minutes and maybe my thoughts were very jumbled. Because it's all generalities, right? Like, if you're working with the most amazing singular attorney the world has ever seen, and that attorney happens to be working for the NAACP, one, I could see that happening. Like, the NAACP, like, I could see someone with real, true talent and motivation existing at the NAACP, because they could say, well, this organization actually matters. So, like, I could see that, right? And if that's what's going on for you, amazing. That's tremendous. Just know how far you're going to go with that person. And it might not be up to that person. The NAACP might be like, NAACP might say, hey, we've taken this as far as we can go. So just get a feel for how far they're going to go, and a commitment if you can, is my recommendation. But generally speaking, just remember, the profit motive is a very strong one. I don't know if the high-minded Ivy Leaguers in many of these organizations want to be in a ditch knifing somebody over discovery to make an extra 20 grand because they want their cut of the extra 20 grand, right? Like those are 2 different mentalities in many cases. And you can say the mentality of the mercenary employment attorney is gross. Maybe. But it does tend, or at least can tend, to produce a better final result, in my opinion. Anyways, like, subscribe, comment down below. Helps us to help more people just like you. Take care. And Sheristan, I will watch this video. I'll check the comments. If you have follow-up, I will try to get you follow-up answers. Take care.